This video was made by an actual human being despite how YouTube currently feels about that.
Be me, Cyrus, 24, working at a regional event rental warehouse, the kind of place that supplies folding chairs and chafing dishes for miserable corporate retreats. Place smells permanently like damp canvas tents and industrial dish soap. My job is mostly inventory checking and tracking damaged linens. It pays just enough to keep me in black coffee and frozen burritos. Life is a solid 5/10, no real complaints, except for Porter. Porter sits 3 desks down in the main shipping office. Porter wears a tailored fleece vest indoors. Porter talks about his investment portfolio while we are literally counting plastic salad tongs. If I get a small bump in hourly pay, he loudly takes a phone call about his dividend yields. If I bring in a regular drip coffee, he brings in some pour-over nonsense and explains the roasting temperature to anyone who makes eye contact. 6 months ago, Porter starts gloating about something new. Shows me a picture of his girlfriend, Alina. She doesn't look like someone who would tolerate Porter. She's an urban planning grad student. Thick glasses, messy bun falling apart, oversized cardigan. She has this permanently exhausted look, like she hasn't slept a full night since 2019. She's gorgeous, but in a way that makes you feel bad for her. Porter says she's brilliant, but he has to keep her grounded. I instantly hate him more than I thought was physically possible. 3 months ago, I'm at the county library. I go there to read bad sci-fi paperbacks and hide from my landlord, who always wants to talk about my noisy radiator. I'm minding my own business when I see her. Alina. She's at a corner table, completely buried under zoning maps and textbooks. She is crying. Not loud crying, just that silent, frustrated leaking. Her laptop charger is completely frayed and hanging by a single wire. The screen goes black. She just puts her head down on the table and makes a muffled screaming noise. I don't even think. I just walk over. I pull my spare charger out of my backpack and tap the table. She looks up, eyes red, mascara smeared on her cheek. She stares at me. "You're the guy from the warehouse," she says, wiping her nose with her sleeve. Her voice is raspy. "Porter calls you the background character. Payne." "Yeah," I say. "That sounds like Porter. Here, it's the same port." I slide the charger across the table. She plugs it in. The screen lights up. She breathes out this huge, shaking sigh. "Thank you," she whispers. I was about to throw it through the window. I awkwardly stand there for a second. "Rough day?" I ask. I can't," she says, rubbing her eyes. "Porter told me to just manifest a better grade. He literally said that. Manifest." I wince. "Yeah, he told me to manifest better forklift maintenance last week," I say. She actually laughs. It's a short, tired laugh, but it's real. I sit down. We end up talking for 3 hours. She doesn't talk about anything complicated. She just talks about how tired she is, how much she hates zoning boards, how she wants to just sleep for a week and eat nothing but grilled cheese. She forgets to drink her coffee. I forget that I'm supposed to be anywhere else. It's just easy. A week later, I walk out to my car after my shift. There's a folded piece of notebook paper stuck under my windshield wiper. Not a creepy stalker note, just an address for a cheap diner 3 towns over, and a time. Thursday, 7 p.m. I show up. It's one of those diners that smells like old frying oil and bleach. She's already sitting in a booth eating a plate of fries. She looks up when I slide in. Porter thinks I'm at a networking mixer, she says, not making eye contact. She's picking nervously at the vinyl seat. I told him I was building my personal brand. He practically shoved me out the door. She looks at me. I just wanted to eat greasy food without someone telling me about crypto. I order a coffee and a burger. This becomes a weekly thing. Not cheating, just hiding. She hides from her life. I hide from mine. She talks. I listen. She hates how everything with Porter is a performance. He records himself making breakfast for TikTok. He makes her stand in certain lighting for Instagram photos. "I just want to exist," she says, tearing a napkin into tiny strips. I just nod and pass her the ketchup. She starts noticing things about me. The overlap starts slowly. Porter comes into the warehouse wearing a new jacket. It's the exact brand of canvas jacket I always wear. He brags about finding this authentic blue-collar aesthetic. I get a text from Alina 10 minutes later. She says, "I bought him the jacket. I'm sorry. I just couldn't look at another pastel vest." The next week, Porter complains that Alina is always busy studying on weekends. She is not studying. She is sitting on the floor of my terrible apartment. She is wearing my oversized gray hoodie. She is organizing my kitchen cabinets because she said looking at my canned goods made her feel dizzy. Why do you have 4 cans of pumpkin puree, Cyrus? She asks from the kitchen. I don't know. It was on sale like 2 years ago, I yell from the couch. You're a mess, she says, but she sounds relaxed. She starts buying the same brand of laundry detergent I use. She brings it over and leaves it on my counter. My apartment smells like Porter's terrible cologne, she says, looking exhausted. I just want things to smell normal. Then my sister gets involved. My older sister, Rosa. Rosa is exhausting. She read one psychology book in 2021 and now speaks entirely in weaponized self-help jargon. Rosa calls me on a Tuesday night. Cyrus, I am in a space of deep emotional overwhelm right now, she says over the phone. Okay, I say, staring at the ceiling. My boundaries are being tested by the universe, and I need you to hold space for me. What do you need, Rosa? I need you to watch the kids tomorrow. I am taking a mental health retreat to the mall. I have work. Cyrus, you are not honoring my journey right now. Family is a village. She hangs up. She drops her 2 terrors off at my apartment at 6 a.m. the next morning. I have to call out sick from the warehouse. Alina happens to come over at noon because she had a breakdown over a thesis chapter. She walks into my apartment and freezes. My nephew is currently trying to eat a dry erase marker. My niece is screaming at the television. Oh, Alina says, holding a plastic bag of bagels. I'm so sorry, I say, pulling the marker out of the kid's mouth. Alina just blinks. She doesn't leave. She puts her bag down, sits on the rug, and starts drawing cities on a piece of cardboard with my nephew. She spends 4 hours building a cardboard town with them. Rosa comes back at 5. She walks in, sees Alina, and immediately makes a face. Oh, Cyrus, you didn't tell me you were entertaining, Rosa says, using that tone. She looks at Alina. I'm Rosa, Cyrus's sister. I'm currently healing my inner child, so I apologize if my energy is scattered. Alina looks terrified. I'm Alina, she says quietly. Alina, Rosa says, stepping entirely too close. You have a very defensive posture. Are you holding on to ancestral trauma? Alina looks at me with sheer panic in her eyes. Rosa, leave her alone, I say, handing her the kids' coats. I'm just saying, Cyrus, you tend to attract avoidant personalities, Rosa says loudly. She packs up her kids. Thank you for honoring my space today, Cyrus, she says, and finally leaves. The door shuts. The apartment is dead silent. Alina is standing by the kitchen counter, clutching her bag of bagels. What just happened? She whispers. My sister, I say. I'm so sorry. Alina actually smiles. It's okay, she says. It's loud, but it's real. We eat stale bagels in silence. Things at work get worse. Porter is escalating. He signs up for a leadership and dominance seminar. He comes back aggressive. He starts trying to micromanage my inventory counts. He stands over my desk, tapping his pen. Cyrus, we really need to push the envelope on these chafing dish returns, he says. I just stare at him. They're metal pans, Porter. They come back dirty. We wash them. He sighs loudly, like I'm a disappointed child. You lack vision, man. That's why you're stuck here. He walks away. I look down at my phone. Text from Alina. He's trying to make me read a book about alpha mindset. Please tell me I can come over tonight. I reply. Doors unlocked. That night, she shows up with a massive plastic container of baked ZT. My mom made this, she says, dropping it on the table. She thinks Porter is a sociopath, so she keeps sending me food. We eat ziti straight out of the container with 2 forks. She is wearing my sweatpants. She looks like she belongs there. I realize I am in deep trouble. This is not a joke anymore. I am hiding another man's girlfriend in my apartment, and I am terrified of what happens when the music stops. The music stops 3 days later. It's the annual warehouse inventory picnic, a mandatory fun event in a depressing public park. Everyone has to bring a +1. Porter brings Alina. I show up alone, carrying a sad bag of store-bought potato chips. Porter is holding court by the cheap charcoal grill. He is wearing khaki shorts and a polo shirt that is way too tight. He is explaining cryptocurrency to the forklift drivers, who clearly want to hit him with a pipe. Alina is standing 3 feet away from him, looking miserable. She is wearing a sundress and holding a plastic cup of warm soda. She catches my eye. She looks away quickly. I try to stay by the coolers, making small talk with the billing lady, but Porter spots me. Cyrus, he yells across the grass. Come over here, man. I drag myself over. Alina, this is Cyrus, Porter says, completely oblivious. He's the guy I told you about, the one who struggles with the spreadsheet macros. Alina stares at the grass. Hi, Cyrus, she says quietly. Hi, I say. My chest feels incredibly tight. Porter puts his arm around her waist. She physically flinches. It's a tiny movement, but I see it. Porter doesn't notice. Babe, tell him about your degree, Porter says. Tell him how long it takes. Cyrus here barely finished community college. It'll blow his mind. Alina's knuckles go white around her plastic cup. She looks at Porter. I don't want to talk about my degree, she says, her voice shaking slightly. Oh, don't be shy, Porter says, laughing. She's just tired, guys. I have to push her to be social. Alina drops the plastic cup. It spills warm Diet Coke all over Porter's expensive leather sandals. What the hell, Alina? Porter snaps, jumping back. She doesn't apologize. She just turns around and walks away. She walks right past the picnic tables, right past the parking lot, and heads toward the street. Porter is too busy wiping his shoes with a napkin to follow her. Unbelievable, he mutters to me. She gets so emotional over nothing. I leave the chips on the table. I walk after her. I find her sitting on the curb a block away, hugging her knees. I sit down next to her on the dirty concrete. Cars drive by. I can't do it, she says. She is crying hard now, her shoulders shaking. I know, I say. He makes me feel like I'm insane. She sobs into her hands. He tells me I'm just stressed, or that I'm not trying hard enough. I just want to be left alone. You don't have to go back, I tell her. She looks at me, her face red and wet. All my stuff is at his place, she says, wiping her eyes. So we'll go get it. She shakes her head. My name is on the lease, Cyrus. I can't just leave. It's a whole thing. The leasing office is terrible. There's a fee. She is spiraling into logistics, getting panicked about paperwork. I put my hand on her shoulder. She stops talking. She leans into my side, burying her face in my jacket. We sit on the curb for 20 minutes. I smell the exhaust from passing cars and her vanilla shampoo. The next Tuesday, Porter comes into work looking like a ghost. His hair is a mess. He isn't wearing the vest. He sits at his desk and stares blankly at his monitor. The whole warehouse is whispering. At lunch, he corners me by the vending machine. She's acting completely crazy, he says, his voice high-pitched and panicked. She took down all the photos in the apartment, just took them down and put them in a trash bag. I try to look neutral. That sucks, man, I say, buying a bag of stale pretzels. She changed the deadbolt, he says, grabbing my arm. She said she needed to feel secure. From what? From me. I pull my arm away gently. I don't know, Porter. That night, I am sitting on my couch watching terrible reality TV. There is a knock at my door. It's 8:30 p.m. I open it. Alina is standing there. She is holding a massive desktop computer tower under one arm and a plastic grocery bag full of Thai food in the other hand. She looks completely destroyed, but her eyes are clear. I broke up with him, she says quietly. She walks past me into the apartment. She sets the computer tower on my cheap coffee table. She sets the Thai food on top of it. I told him I got a short-term research placement in another state, she says, taking off her coat. Why did you say that? I ask, locking the door. Because if I told him the truth, he would try to argue with me, she says, rubbing her temples. He would try to debate my feelings. He would bring up sunk costs. I just couldn't do it. She looks around my messy living room. I didn't know where else to go, she whispers. You can stay, I say instantly. No hesitation. She sleeps on my couch that night. The next 2 weeks are a logistical nightmare. She is technically homeless. She still has to go to classes. She is terrified of running into Porter. She mutes him on every app, blocks his number, and makes me promise to text her if I see his car near the grocery store. Porter is losing his mind at work. He spends his entire shift posting vague, angry quotes on LinkedIn about betrayal and toxic women who can't handle the grind. The RLL manager, a tired woman named Esther, has to call Porter into her office because he was playing sad acoustic covers of pop songs on his phone speakers in the break room. I get called into Esther's office the next day. Esther looks over her glasses at me. Cyrus, Esther says, sighing. Porter is saying you're conspiring against him. My stomach drops. What? I say. He says you are laughing at him behind his back, she says, rubbing her forehead. Look, I don't care about his personal life. Just stay away from him. He's a liability right now. I nod and get out of there fast. Meanwhile, my apartment has been completely taken over. There are textbooks stacked on my microwave. There is a pile of her shoes by the door. She hasn't officially moved in, but she never leaves. We have to deal with her old apartment. She needs to get her name off the lease. She calls the leasing office on a Thursday afternoon. I am sitting at my kitchen table, eating cereal. She has the phone on speaker. The leasing manager, some guy named Colby, is arguing with her. Look, miss, you can't just break a joint lease because of a breakup, Colby says through the phone. Alina drops her head onto the table. I can't be in the same room as him, she whispers to me. I take the phone. Hi, Colby, this is Cyrus, I say. Who is Cyrus? Colby asks, sounding annoyed. I am her legal counsel, I lie, sweating immediately. Alina looks up at me, terrified. If you force my client to interact with an abusive ex-partner just to sign a piece of paper, we will file a complaint with the housing authority, I say, making up words. Silence on the line. Fine, Colby mutters. She can come in Tuesday morning, but there is a $150 transfer fee. He hangs up. Alina stares at me. Legal counsel? She says. I panicked, I say, putting the phone down. She suddenly reaches across the table and grabs my hand. Her hand is cold. Thank you, she says softly. We sit there holding hands over a bowl of soggy cereal. It's the most intimate thing that has ever happened to me. Tuesday comes. We have to go to the leasing office. I take a half day off work, claiming I have a dentist appointment. Porter sees me leaving and glares at me from the loading dock. I pick Alina up in my beat-up sedan. She is shaking nervously the whole ride. We get to the apartment complex. It's one of those fake luxury places with gray floors and cheap amenities. We walk into the office. Colby is a terrible guy in a cheap suit. He slaps a stack of papers on the desk. Sign here, here, and here, he says without looking up. Alina starts signing. She is rushing, her handwriting messy. She finishes and reaches for her bag. She freezes. My wallet? She whispers, panicked. It's in my other bag, the one back at your apartment. She looks at Colby. I don't have the fee, she says, her voice breaking. Can I come back later today? Nope, Colby says, closing the folder. Paperwork has to be processed with the payment. You'll have to start over tomorrow. Alina looks like she is going to shatter into a million pieces. She is so exhausted. I pull out my terrible peeling debit card. I got it, I say, handing it to Colby. Alina tries to stop me. Cyrus, no, you don't have the money, she whispers. I'll eat ramen for a week. It's fine, I tell her. Colby swipes the card. It approves. I am officially completely broke. But we get the paperwork. We walk out of the office. The cold air hits us. She stops in the middle of the sidewalk. She just stands there, holding the manila envelope. She starts crying again. Not sad crying, just overwhelming relief. I pull her into a hug right there in the parking lot. She wraps her arms around my neck and holds on tight. We stand there for a long time. People are walking past us, but neither of us cares. We go back to my place. The reality of the situation settles in. She is completely untethered. She has no money, her car is terrible, her degree is crushing her, and she is relying entirely on a warehouse guy who makes $15 an hour. My sister Rosa calls me that night. Cyrus, I feel very disconnected from you lately, Rosa says over the phone. Rosa, I am really stressed right now, I say, watching Alina sleep on my couch wrapped in my blanket. You are projecting your stress onto our relationship, Rosa says. I need you to come help me move my patio furniture this weekend. I can't. I'm busy. With that girl with the bad energy? Rosa asks, offended. Do not talk about her, I snap. My voice is louder than I meant it to be. Rosa goes silent. Excuse me, she says. I have to go, Rosa, I say, and hang up. Alina shifts on the couch, waking up. Was that your sister? She asks groggily. Yeah, she wanted me to move furniture. Alina sits up, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. Cyrus, she says quietly. Yeah? I'm ruining your life. She looks so small on the couch. You're not ruining anything, I say, sitting on the edge of the coffee table. I took over your apartment. I made you broke today. Your sister hates me, and Porter works with you. She rubs her face. I should just go stay at a motel, or go back to my mom's house. Panic grips my chest. No, I say immediately. She looks up at me. Don't leave, I say. Please. The room is very quiet. The radiator hisses in the corner. She looks at me for a long time. She reaches out and grabs the hem of my shirt. She pulls me slightly toward her. I don't want to leave, she whispers. She leans forward and rests her forehead against my chest. I put my hand on the back of her head, my fingers in her messy hair. We just sit there. The next day at work is hell. Porter has decided he is going to find out who Alina left him for. He is convinced it's someone from his gym. He is pacing around the shipping office, talking loudly to anyone who will listen. I bet it's that guy Blake, Porter says, angrily typing on his keyboard. He always spotted her when she squatted. I should have known. I am sitting 3 desks away, staring at a spreadsheet of lost forks, trying not to sweat. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Text from Alina: I found your spare key under the mat. I made a copy. I hope that's okay. I stare at the text. She made a key. Porter walks over to my desk. Cyrus, you're quiet today, he says, leaning on my cubicle wall. I freeze. I look up at him. Just tired, Porter. Lots of inventory. He squints at me. You know, he says slowly, Alina used to mention you sometimes. My heart absolutely stops. I feel the blood drain from my face. Yeah? I croak out. Yeah, Porter says, sighing. She said you were a good listener. Maybe I should have listened more. Or maybe I should have just bought her a nicer car. He shakes his head and walks away to bother the forklift drivers. I exhale a breath I didn't know I was holding. I text Alina back, keep the key. Friday night, we have to do the worst part. We have to get the rest of her stuff out of Porter's apartment. Porter is at a networking dinner downtown. He posted about it on Instagram, so we know we have exactly 3 hours. I borrow a friend's battered pickup truck. We drive to Porter's complex. It is dark and raining. We let ourselves in with Alina's old key. The apartment is sterile, cold, and smells like expensive air freshener. It looks like a magazine cover, completely devoid of human warmth. Grab the garbage bags, Alina says, her voice tight. We start throwing her clothes, her books, her random knickknacks into heavy-duty black trash bags. We are moving frantically, terrified he might come home early. I am carrying a stack of heavy textbooks. She is grabbing her winter coats from the closet. She suddenly stops in the middle of the living room. She is staring at a framed photo on the side table. It's a picture of her and Porter on a beach. She looks completely disconnected in the photo, staring off camera. Porter is smiling perfectly at the lens. She reaches out, grabs the frame, and throws it face down into the trash can. She doesn't break the glass, just drops it. Let's go, she says, her breathing shallow. We load the bags into the back of the pickup truck in the pouring rain. We are completely soaked. My cheap shoes are ruined. Her hair is plastered to her face. We slam the tailgate shut. We get into the cab of the truck. I turn the heater on full blast. It smells like wet dog and old fast food in the truck. We are both shivering. She looks at me sitting behind the steering wheel. Water is dripping off my nose. She starts laughing. It starts as a small giggle, and then she is laughing so hard she is gasping for air. She is leaning against the dashboard, shaking with laughter. I start laughing too. We are 2 miserable, broke, soaked idiots in a stolen truck full of garbage bags. She grabs my hand in the dark. Her fingers are freezing. She leans across the center console. She kisses me. It's clumsy. Our noses bump, and she tastes like rain and cheap coffee. But it's real. She pulls back, her eyes wide, breathing hard. I'm sorry, she whispers, looking suddenly panicked. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize, I say quickly, pulling her back. We sit in the dark, rain hammering on the roof of the truck. Fast forward to Monday morning, the fallout happens. Porter noticed the missing stuff over the weekend. He is completely unhinged. He shows up to the warehouse, looking absolutely deranged. He hasn't shaved. He is wearing a wrinkled shirt. He marches straight into the center of the office. She moved out. He announces loudly to nobody in particular. Everyone stops typing. Esther from her slowly stands up from her desk. Porter, please go to the break room, Esther says gently. No, Porter yells, throwing his briefcase on a desk. Somebody helped her. She couldn't have moved that fast alone. He is pacing back and forth. I am sitting at my desk, shrinking into my chair. I am trying to become invisible. Porter looks around the room. His eyes lock onto me. He stares at me. He walks slowly over to my desk. The entire office is dead silent. Cyrus, Porter says, his voice dangerously low. I look up. Yeah, Porter? Where were you on Friday night? He asks. My throat is completely dry. I was at home. Watching TV, he leans down, resting his hands on my desk. Really? He says. Because my neighbor said he saw a beat-up red pickup truck in the parking lot. Didn't your buddy Neil have a red truck? I am caught. I don't know what to say. My brain completely short-circuits. Before I can answer, Esther steps between us. Porter, that is enough, Esther says firmly. You are creating a hostile work environment. My office. Right now. Porter glares at me with pure hatred. I know it was you, he hisses. He follows Esther into her office. The door shuts. The entire warehouse is staring at me. Neil, the forklift driver, leans over the cubicle wall. Dude, did you steal Porter's girl? Neil whispers loudly. I put my head down on my desk. My phone buzzes. It's a text from my landlord. We need to talk about unauthorized occupants in Unit 4B. My stomach completely drops. I text Alina, we have a problem. She texts back immediately. I know. My mom just called. Porter called her trying to find me. The walls are closing in. I leave work early, faking a stomach bug. I drive home in a panic. When I get to my apartment building, my landlord, an older guy named Mr. Farnham, is waiting in the lobby. He is holding a clipboard. Cyrus, Farnham says, blocking the stairs. Hi, Mr. Farnham, I say, trying to squeeze past him. You have a girl living up there, he says, tapping his pen. Lease says no long-term guests without background checks and a rent increase. I am so tired. She's not living there, I lie. She's just visiting. She's been here for 2 weeks, Cyrus. She receives mail here now. I freeze. Mail? I need an extra $200 a month or she has to go. Farnham says, turning away, you have until the 1st. I run up the stairs. I unlock my door. Alina is sitting on the floor in the living room, surrounded by piles of paperwork. There is a piece of mail on the coffee table. It's a forwarding address confirmation from the post office. She looks up at me, completely overwhelmed. He called my mom, she says, her voice shaking. He told my mom I was having a mental breakdown and he needed to rescue me. She pulls her knees to her chest. She believed him, Cyrus. My mom thinks I'm crazy. She told me to go back to him. I drop my keys on the counter. The sound is loud in the small room. I sit down on the floor next to her. The paperwork is everywhere. Medical bills, student loan statements, lease agreements, the massive, crushing weight of real life. We are sitting in a tiny, overpriced apartment, hiding from a crazy person, broke, and facing a rent increase. I'll get a second job, I say quietly. She looks at me, tears in her eyes. You can't work a second job. You're already exhausted, she whispers. I'll figure it out. Cyrus, why are you doing this? She asks, her voice breaking. Why are you dealing with all of this? I brought a hurricane into your life. I look at the piles of paper. I look at the cheap Tupperware she bought sitting on the counter. I look at her oversized sweater, my sweater, swallowed around her shoulders. Because before you got here, I just counted metal pans all day, I say. She sniffles and wipes her nose on her sleeve. Someone knocks loudly on the door. We both freeze. Alina's eyes go wide with terror. She thinks it's Porter. I slowly stand up. I walk quietly to the door. I look through the peephole. It's my sister, Rosa. She is holding a large casserole dish. I unlock the door and open it a crack. Rosa, I really can't deal with you right now, I say. Rosa pushes the door open, forcing her way in. I brought lasagna, she announces. She walks into the living room and sees Alina sitting on the floor crying. Rosa stops. She looks at the paperwork. She looks at Alina. She looks at me. For the first time in her life, Rosa drops the therapy voice. All right, what the hell is actually going on? Rosa asks, her tone completely normal and sharp. I am too tired to lie. I tell her everything. I tell her about Porter, the warehouse, the stolen truck, the landlord, the lack of money. Rosa stands there, holding the heavy dish. She sets the lasagna on the table. She looks at Alina, who is shrinking against the couch. You left that guy in the vest? Rosa asks Alina. Alina nods slowly. Good, Rosa says. He looked like a tool. Rosa turns to me. Farnham can't legally raise rent without a 30-day notice. She says, all business. I'll call him tomorrow and threaten him with a tenant lawyer. My friend Sarah is a paralegal. She'll draft a scary letter on fake letterhead. I am staring at my sister in shock. You'll do that? I ask. Family is a village, Cyrus, she says, rolling her eyes, even when you make stupid decisions. She points at Alina. Eat the lasagna. You look like a stiff breeze would snap you in half. Rosa leaves. The door shuts. Alina and I sit on the floor and eat lasagna out of the dish. It is the best thing I have ever tasted. The next day, things at the warehouse reach a breaking point. Esther from calls me in again. She closes the door and pulls the blinds down. Porter's threatening to sue the company, Esther says, rubbing her temples. He says we are harboring his harasser. I blink. I am his harasser, he says. You emotionally manipulated his girlfriend into leaving him, which has caused him severe emotional distress, impacting his job performance. Esther looks extremely tired. Cyrus, I need you to go home. Paid administrative leave. Just for a few days until he calms down or quits. He's crazy, Esther. I know he is. But corporate doesn't want a lawsuit. I am sent home. I walk out to my car in the middle of the day. I feel completely defeated. I drive back to my apartment building. I walk up the stairs. I get to my door. It's ajar. Panic spikes violently in my chest. I push the door open. The apartment is a mess. Boxes are everywhere. Alina is standing in the kitchen, packing our mugs into a cardboard box. She looks up when I walk in. "What are you doing?" I ask, my heart hammering. She drops a mug into the box. "Farnham came back," she says, her voice flat. "He said Rosa yelled at him on the phone, so he's not raising the rent." "Okay, so why are we packing?" "Because he said he's not renewing your lease next month anyway." "He said we're too much trouble." I lean against the door frame. I have no job right now. I have no lease next month. I have $50 in my checking account. The situation is completely untenable. Alina walks over to me. She is holding a roll of packing tape. "I found a place," she says quietly. I look at her. "What?" "A cheap apartment across town, near the campus. It's tiny. The radiator probably doesn't work, but they don't do credit checks." She looks down at the floor. "I put both our names on the application," she whispers. She looks back up at me, terrified of my answer. "We have known each other for a few months. We have kissed exactly once. My life is entirely in ruins because of her. She is a disaster. And I am unemployed." The radiator hisses loudly in the corner of the room. I take the roll of packing tape from her hands. I set it on the counter. "We're going to need more boxes," I say. She lets out a shaky breath and leans her forehead against my shoulder. We spend the entire night packing, filling cheap boxes with her textbooks and my bad sci-fi novels, mixing her expensive winter coats with my cheap warehouse hoodies, wrapping my terrible plates in her old class notes. The apartment smells like cardboard and dust. At 2 a.m., my phone rings. It's Porter. I stare at the screen. The bright caller ID illuminates the dark room. Alina stops taping a box and looks at the phone. It rings and rings. It goes to voicemail. The little notification icon pops up on the screen. We don't listen to it. We don't care. I grab my car keys off the kitchen counter. The metal jingles sharply in the quiet room. I look at her standing by the door, holding a heavy box. "You ready?" I ask. She nods, adjusting her grip on the cardboard. "Yeah," she says. We walk out into the hallway. The door clicks shut behind us.